The twin suns of Alaris Prime sank behind silver towers as Commander Ryan Dale stood alone on the marble platform of the alien court. The air was thick with violet smoke, and the walls hummed with strange energy. Chains of blue light wrapped around his wrists. Glowing like fire, before him stood Captain Lyra Venn, once his partner, his friend, and the woman he had loved more than anyone. She was dressed in dark armor made of obsidian metal that caught the light like glass. Her face was calm, almost cold, but her eyes betrayed the storm inside. Ryan could not believe what he saw only a year ago. They had fought side by side against the Dominion, laughing, sharing old memories of Earth, dreaming of peace. Now she stood on the enemy's side, leading them, commanding them. "Lyra," he said quietly, "tell me this is not true." She looked down for a moment, her voice soft. "Ryan, it's too late to stop this." He shook his head. "You were my reason to keep fighting. You don't understand," she said. "You never did." The Council of Alien Elders watched silently from their high seats, their long crystal robes flowing like water. Their eyes glowed silver as they whispered in a language Ryan did not know. Then the tallest one spoke. "Human Commander, you stand accused of breaking the Accord and spreading the Forbidden Code." Ryan frowned. "I don't even know what you're talking about." Lyra stepped forward. "You do know, Ryan, even if you don't remember." The guards pushed him to his knees. Ryan stared up at her, heart pounding. "What did they do to you?" he whispered. She did not answer, but her hands trembled. A thin tear rolled down her cheek, catching the alien light. He remembered the first time they met on the ship Endeavor. When she smiled at him after a long battle, he remembered how she believed in the goodness of humans. Now that light in her seemed gone, replaced by duty or fear. He could not tell which. Lyra raised her hand, and a silver whip of energy appeared in the air. Crackling with electricity, the aliens murmured. The crowd silent, waiting. Ryan's breath caught. "Lyra, don't," he said. She closed her eyes. "I have to." The whip struck across his back. Burning through his uniform, pain exploded through him. But worse than the pain was the sound of her crying. Each strike left a glowing mark, symbols he could not read. He realized they were not random. They were messages, letters, something hidden. He tried to speak, but the guards held him down. When the last strike landed, Lyra fell to her knees, trembling. Her weapon vanished in light. Ryan turned his head slightly, his voice rough. "Why did you do this to me?" She whispered so quietly only he could hear. "To save you." Then she stood and faced the council, her voice steady again. "The punishment is done. He carries the mark." The council leader nodded. "It is complete. Release him to the prison of silence." Guards dragged Ryan away, his body weak but his mind racing. He didn't understand what she meant. To save you. Save him from what? From whom? As they passed through the crystal gates, Ryan caught one last look at Lyra. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, he saw something human, something pure, still alive inside her. She mouthed 2 words before turning away. "Forgive me." Then the doors closed and darkness swallowed him. Inside the shuttle that carried him to the alien fortress, Ryan stared at his hands. The marks on his skin glowed faintly blue, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He could feel energy flowing through them, like a hidden code beneath his flesh. The pain was terrible, but the thought of Lyra's tears hurt even more. He remembered the last night on the ship. When she had told him about fear, she had said, "Sometimes to protect something good, you have to destroy it first." He never understood what she meant until now. The shuttle landed inside the alien citadel, the sky filled with strange flying creatures that shimmered like metal birds. The guards pulled him out, their expressions blank. Ryan looked up at the tall black towers and whispered, "Lyra, what have you done?" No one answered. Only the sound of the wind echoed between the steel walls. Far above in the council hall, Lyra watched the shuttle fade into the horizon, her hands still shaking, her heart breaking. She closed her eyes and whispered, "He'll hate me forever, but he'll live." The council leader turned to her and said, "You did what was required, Captain Venn." "The human carries the code now." Lyra nodded slowly, her eyes filled with sorrow. "I only hope he never learns the truth," she said. Outside, the suns disappeared completely, and darkness covered Alaris Prime. But somewhere deep in that darkness, the light from Ryan's scars began to glow brighter, as if calling to her across the endless night. Cold air filled Ryan's lungs as he woke up in a dim metallic room. The ceiling glowed with faint blue lights, pulsing like a heartbeat. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. Then the pain hit him. The burning marks on his back still alive under his skin. He tried to move, but invisible energy bands held his wrists and ankles tight against the floor. A voice echoed softly in the room. Human Subject 472 is conscious. The voice was not human. It was calm, mechanical, almost kind. A smooth silver orb floated from the shadows, scanning his body with beams of light. Ryan stared at it, his voice weak. Where am I? The orb replied. You are inside the Vault of Silence. Commander Ryan Dale, property of the Dominion. He closed his eyes, remembering the trial, the crowd, and her face, Lyra. The name felt heavy now, both pain and hope mixed together. He whispered to himself, You said you did it to save me. But how could hurting me save anyone? The orb paused as if listening, then said, Emotional output detected, the subject is unstable. Ryan gave a bitter laugh. You think I'm unstable? You kidnapped me. The machine floated closer. Correction, you were surrendered by Captain Lyra Venn for your protection. The words froze him. His heart pounded. Protection? From what? The orb didn't answer. Instead, a wall opened behind it, revealing a long corridor of silver doors. Each door had a small glowing window, and behind them, he could hear whispers, faint voices speaking in dozens of languages. Some sounded human, some did not. The orb floated forward. You will be transferred to Observation Chamber 7. 2 guards entered, tall aliens with blue skin and long, bone-white hair. Their eyes glowed faintly, like stars underwater. They released his bonds and pulled him to his feet. He tried to resist, but the marks on his back sent a sharp shock through his body, forcing him to stumble forward. They led him down the corridor, past the whispering cells. Every time he looked through a window, he saw strange sights. An old human crying over a hologram, a robot praying, a small alien child drawing symbols on the wall. Each seemed trapped in their own silence. Ryan realized why they called it the prison of silence. No one spoke unless ordered. No one screamed, even in pain. At the end of the corridor, the guards pushed him into a circular room. The door closed with a hiss. The orb followed, projecting a hologram above the center, a map of his body, lines glowing where the whip marks were. Those markings are ancient code, the orb said. Designed to protect information. Ryan frowned. Information? What kind? The kind that could destroy the Dominion. The orb replied calmly. He sat down slowly, breathing hard. So Lyra hadn't just hurt him. She had turned him into a weapon. But why him? He wasn't a scientist or a spy. He was just a soldier who had trusted her completely. The orb floated closer. You are important to her, it said. She requested your safety. He looked up sharply. Where is she now? The orb flickered. Access denied. Captain Venn's location is classified. He slammed his hand against the wall. Tell me. A shockwave hit his chest, forcing him to the ground. Emotional aggression detected, the orb said softly. Please rest, Commander. Your memory will return soon. As the light dimmed, he lay there breathing slowly. Staring at the ceiling, his mind began to drift. Flashes of Lyra's face appeared, her eyes filled with tears, her voice saying, You'll understand one day. Then another memory appeared, one he didn't remember living. Lyra standing in a dark lab, whispering to someone, If he ever finds out, they'll kill him before he speaks. He opened his eyes, suddenly sweating. What did they do to me? He whispered from the corner of the room. A faint mechanical sound answered, but not from the orb. A small spherical drone, half broken and flickering, rolled out of a vent, its lights blinking weakly. It beeped twice, then projected a shaky image, Lyra's face. Recorded and tired, Ryan, her voice said through static. If you're seeing this, they've taken you to the vault. You must listen carefully. His heart raced as he crawled closer. Her hologram continued. I didn't betray you. I marked you with a code. It's inside you now. Don't let them erase it. You're humanity's last carrier of the resistance key. Static filled the room. But one last line came through clearly. They'll call me a monster, but I did this so you could live. The drone flickered and died. The room falling silent again. Ryan sat in the dark, every breath heavy. He finally understood a small piece of her pain. She had never wanted to hurt him. She had done it to protect something far greater. He looked at the marks on his arms glowing faintly. Somewhere deep within them he could feel power and memory, waiting to awaken. In the distance, the alarm lights flashed red. Someone or something was breaking into the vault. Ryan stood up slowly, the pain gone now. Replaced with purpose, he whispered to the darkness, "Lyra, I'm coming for the truth." And the marks on his skin began to burn like fire, lighting the chamber with human light. The alarm still echoed through the vault of silence. Red lights flashed across the walls as the floor trembled under Ryan's feet. He looked around the chamber, his pulse racing, unsure whether this was an attack or an escape. The orb that had guarded him floated in circles, its voice turning sharp. "Containment breach detected. All human subjects on lockdown." But Ryan didn't wait. He grabbed the broken drone that had shown Lyra's message and hid it inside his jacket. A crack of thunder filled the room, not real thunder, but the sound of plasma doors sealing shut. The walls shifted, forming new pathways like a living maze. He ran through the corridors, following the flickering red lights. The energy bands that once bound him were gone, and for the first time he felt strength rising inside him. The glowing marks on his arms pulsed faster, matching the rhythm of his heart. Everywhere he turned, he saw chaos. Alien guards shouted in their strange language, trying to stop the breach. But none of them noticed the humans slipping between the shadows. Ryan's mind was focused. His thoughts clear. Lyra had left him clues, and the marks were part of a secret he was only beginning to understand. He reached a control room filled with glowing panels and strange floating screens. A shattered window looked out into the main chamber. Hundreds of cryopods filled with humans, their bodies frozen in blue light. Men, women, children, all asleep, all silent. He stared in shock, whispering, "They said humans were free, but this is a graveyard." Suddenly, a metallic sound came from behind him. A half-damaged maintenance robot rolled into view, sparks flickering from its side. It looked almost human in its design, its single eye glowing green. It spoke softly. "Human subject detected. Are you Riendale?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Who are you?" The robot buzzed and replied, "I am Unit 9, maintenance and data courier, once property of Captain Lyra Venn." Hearing her name again made his heart ache. He stepped closer. "She worked here?" The robot nodded. "Affirmative, she programmed me to help you if the code activated." "What code?" Ryan asked, his voice shaking slightly. The robot projected a small hologram. Symbols from his whip scars appeared in the air, forming glowing circles of data. "This code," Unit 9 said, "is called the Human Resonance Key." Ryan frowned. "What does it do?" The robot paused, as if choosing the right words. "It is the last defense against Dominion control. The code inside you can awaken the memory of every human they erased." He blinked in disbelief. "Erased? You mean—" "Yes," the robot said quietly. "They have been taking the human mind apart for years, replacing it with obedience." Ryan felt sick, the room spinning around him. All the faces in those cryopods, they weren't just prisoners. They were victims Lyra had known. She had seen what the Dominion was doing. She must have sacrificed everything to protect the last unbroken part of humanity. Him. The realization hit him like a storm. He clenched his fists, his voice trembling. "She marked me to hide the key, so they couldn't take it from me." The robot nodded again. "Correct. She believed you could find the resistance and restore the human code." "Resistance?" he asked. "Scattered humans across the galaxy still fight in secret," the robot explained. "They call themselves the Echo." Ryan took a deep breath. "Then I have to find them." The robot's green eye flickered. That is what she wanted. Suddenly the floor shook violently, and the lights went out through the glass wall. Ryan saw a shadow move between the cryopods, a tall alien figure with long silver armor. It turned toward him, and for a second, he thought it was Lyra, but the voice that spoke was cold. "Mechanical, unauthorized human detected. Purge sequence activated, the guards were coming." Ryan turned to the robot. "How do I get out of here?" The robot rolled to a side panel and opened a vent. "Follow this tunnel to the surface hangar, take Shuttle 9. She left it for you." He looked at the small machine. "You're coming with me." It beeped twice. "Negative, my function ends here. My core belongs to her." Before Ryan could reply, the robot shut down, its eye dimming to black. He whispered, "Thank you, Unit 9," and crawled into the tunnel. The path was narrow, lit only by the faint glow of his scars. He crawled for what felt like hours until he reached a hatch when he pushed it open. Cold air rushed over his face. Real air, open space. Above him stretched the sky of Alaris Prime, filled with alien stars and far in the distance, the burning lights of the Dominion fleet. He climbed out, standing on a rocky ledge overlooking the planet's surface. In the valley below, he saw a ship, small, silver, and marked with a symbol he recognized from Lyra's armor. His chest tightened. She had planned everything, even his escape. He smiled sadly, whispering, "You really did save me." As he walked toward the ship, a faint sound echoed from the communicator on his wrist, a message. Her voice again, faint but alive. "Ryan, if you've come this far, then you know the truth," she said softly. "Don't run from it, embrace what's inside you, because the future of humanity depends on it." Her voice faded. Replaced by static, he looked up at the stars, his determination burning bright. "The future of humanity," he said quietly, "starts now." Behind him, deep in the tunnels, something exploded, the vault collapsing, the Dominion realizing their prisoner was gone. Ryan didn't look back. He stepped onto the shuttle and powered it up. As it lifted off the ground, the glow from his mark spread across his chest. The stars opened before him like endless possibilities. And for the first time since his capture, Ryan smiled, because now he carried not just the code, but the secret of humanity. The shuttle streaked across the night sky of Alaris Prime. Its engines glowing white against the dark clouds, Ryan sat in the pilot's seat, his hands shaking as he guided the small ship through the storm. Every few seconds, lightning flashed across the horizon, revealing the shadows of massive Dominion ships floating like giants above the planet. He knew they were searching for him, scanning the surface, hunting for the one human who had escaped. The ship's control screen flickered with warning lights. He had taken heavy fire during takeoff, and the energy core was failing. Still, he refused to stop. He opened the small holographic map Lyra had hidden inside the shuttle's console. It showed a blinking blue mark, a set of coordinates far from any Dominion city, deep inside the Wraith Belt. A lawless zone filled with abandoned colonies, pirates, and scavengers. "This is where you want me to go, huh, Lyra?" he whispered, staring at the mark. The ship rattled as plasma fire flashed past the cockpit. Dominion drones were on his tail, sleek and silver, flying in perfect formation. Their lasers cut through the clouds. Each shot closer than the last. Ryan gritted his teeth, pulling the ship into a dive, the engines roaring. The G-forces pressed against him, but he held steady. He had been a soldier all his life, but never had the fight felt this personal. He fired back with the shuttle's rear cannons. One drone exploded in a burst of light. Two more kept coming. He swung the ship sideways, flying dangerously close to the mountains. Sparks flew as the hull scraped against the rocky edges. Finally, he launched the last energy charge, and the blast took down the final drone. The sky went silent again. Only his heavy breathing and the hum of the failing engines filled the air. Minutes later, the shuttle broke through the storm clouds and entered the empty black space above the planet. The stars stretched out before him like an ocean of light. He checked the coordinates again, then locked onto the Wraith Belt. It was time to find the truth, and the people Lyra had wanted him to meet. Hours passed before the ship reached the edge of the belt. A cluster of shattered moons and ancient ships drifted there, frozen in orbit like the bones of old wars. The navigation system went wild. Unable to track stable paths, Ryan took control manually. Guiding the shuttle through the field of debris, it was dangerous, but strangely beautiful. Twisted metal reflecting starlight like floating glass. Then he saw movement, a flash of red lights deep inside the wreckage. Something was following him. He armed the ship's scanners, but before he could react, a blinding blue beam struck the hull. The shuttle spun wildly, alarm screaming. He struggled to stabilize it, but a voice came through the comm system. "Unknown vessel. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Ryan froze, recognizing the tone. Not Dominion, but human. He switched on his transmitter. "This is Commander Ryan Dale of Earth Resistance Unit 9. I'm not your enemy." There was silence for a moment. Then another voice replied, rough but human. "Resistance? There's no resistance anymore." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then maybe it's time to start again." The voice hesitated, then said, "Dock at Hangar 6 and don't try anything stupid." The transmission ended. He followed the signal toward an enormous derelict ship hidden between the rocks. Its hull bore old human symbols worn by time but still visible. ESS Valor. He felt a wave of emotion, remembering stories of the Valor, the last ship to escape Earth before the Dominion invasion. As the shuttle landed inside the hangar, a group of armed humans surrounded him. Their armor patched and mismatched, they looked tired, hungry but determined. One of them, a tall woman with a scar across her cheek, stepped forward, her rifle aimed at his chest. "Who are you really?" she asked. Ryan raised his hand slowly. "I'm looking for the Echo." Her eyes narrowed. "You found them," she said quietly. Then she lowered her weapon. "Lyra said you'd come." The words hit him like a thunderbolt. "You know her?" he asked quickly. The woman nodded. "She was one of us before she went deep undercover with the Dominion." "She saved my life," he said softly. The woman gave a small nod. "She saved more than yours, Commander." She gave us hope. They took him to the command deck, a dark room filled with flickering screens and maps of Dominion space. Old Earth flags hung from the walls, faded but proud. A man in a worn officer's jacket turned to face him, his eyes sharp and serious. "I'm Captain Aaron Holt," he said, "and if Lyra sent you here, then you must be carrying something important." Ryan hesitated, then rolled up his sleeve, showing the glowing marks on his arm. The light reflected off the metal walls. Bathing the room in blue, everyone fell silent. Staring, Aaron whispered, "The resonance key." Ryan nodded slowly. "She hid it inside me." "To keep it safe," Aaron exhaled in disbelief. "We thought it was lost forever." Ryan clenched his fists. "She wanted me to find you and finish what she started." The captain placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you're home now, Commander, but you need to understand something." "What?" Ryan asked. "The Dominion already knows you escaped," Aaron said grimly. "And they've sent their best hunter after you, Lyra's replacement." Ryan froze, staring at him. "What do you mean, her replacement?" Aaron's voice dropped. "An enhanced hybrid, built from her DNA." Outside the ship, scanners began to beep as a shadow passed across the stars. A sleek Dominion cruiser moved silently toward them. The hunt had just begun. The lights on the ESS Valor dimmed as warning alarms echoed through the ancient corridors. Red flashes painted the metal walls while the crew hurried to their stations. Ryan stood on the command deck beside Captain Aaron. Watching the radar screen pulse with danger, the Dominion cruiser had found them, sliding through the wraith belt like a silent predator. No one spoke, every breath heavy with fear and anticipation. Aaron turned toward Ryan, his voice firm. "They won't stop until they get you, Commander. You're carrying the one thing they fear." Ryan nodded slowly, staring out the viewport at the endless dark. "Then let's make sure they never find it." Outside, the stars vanished behind the massive shadow of the Dominion ship. Its hull shimmered with energy fields, and thousands of smaller drones detached, circling the Valor like vultures. "Shields at 60%, shouted a crew member. "Weapons online but unstable," Aaron barked. "Hold fire until I give the order." Ryan watched the enemy ship's lights flicker, a bright red pulse flashing across its surface. Something was coming, something powerful, and then, through the static-filled comms came a voice that made Ryan's heart stop. Soft, calm, and hauntingly familiar. "Commander Ryan Dale," the voice said. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Ryan froze, his breath caught in his throat. "Lyra?" he whispered, but Aaron shook his head. "That's not her, that's the hybrid. They used her DNA to create their new weapon," the voice continued, echoing through the speakers. "Surrender the resonance key, and your crew will live." Ryan clenched his fists. His heart pounding, he stepped closer to the comm panel, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "You're not her, you'll never be her." For a moment, silence filled the air. Then the voice replied with quiet menace. "I am everything she was and more." The transmission ended, and the first blast hit the Valor, shaking it to its core. The deck trembled. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Aaron shouted, "Return fire, all batteries open." Blue plasma streaked through space, cutting through the swarms of drones. Ryan grabbed a side console, watching the numbers drop. Shields weakening, hull temperature rising. "We can't hold this forever," he said through gritted teeth. Aaron glanced at him. "Then we don't. We hit back where it hurts." Ryan's mind raced. He remembered the code inside him, the resonance key. If it could disrupt the Dominion's control network, maybe it could disable their ship. but using it meant connecting directly to their signal. Risking his mind, he hesitated for only a moment before speaking. I can stop them, but I'll need to link with their system. Aaron frowned. That could kill you. Ryan's voice was quiet. It already killed her. Without waiting for permission, he sprinted toward the lower deck where the comm arrays were located. The ship shook again as another blast hit the hull, but he kept moving. He reached the control chamber, dark, humming. Filled with wires and flickering lights, he placed his hands on the interface, and the marks on his arms began to glow brighter. Electric blue energy spread across the panels, connecting him to the Dominion's network. His mind filled with static, flashes of memories. He saw Lyra's face, her smile, her voice, her final words. I did this to save you. Then another image appeared. A reflection, not Lyra, but the hybrid staring at him from across the digital void. Her eyes were the same, her voice identical, but her soul was empty. You shouldn't have come here, she said. Her tone almost sorrowful, Ryan whispered. You can't be her. Because she had a heart, she tilted her head, studying him. Heart is weakness. That's why she failed, he shook his head. No, that's why she won. Then he sent the resonance pulse. Light burst from the console, flooding the entire ship with energy. Every screen, every wire, every system lit up like a sun on the Dominion cruiser. The hybrid screamed as the pulse tore through her network, breaking her connection back on the Valor. The systems overloaded, alarms blaring. Aaron's voice crackled through the intercom. Ryan, get out of there, the core's going to blow. But Ryan couldn't move. The energy held him in place inside the storm of data. He saw Lyra again, her true self. Her real voice, Ryan, she said softly. You're so close, but this isn't the end. He tried to reach for her, but she faded like mist, replaced by static, with one final surge. The pulse exploded outward. The Dominion ship lost power, its lights dying, its drones crashing into each other. The stars returned peaceful and silent. Ryan collapsed to the floor, smoke rising from the panels. His body weak but alive. Minutes later, Aaron and his crew found him. He was breathing shallowly, his skin still glowing with faint light. Aaron knelt beside him. You did it, Commander. You stopped them. Ryan opened his eyes slowly, whispering, not all of them. He looked out the viewport at the burning Dominion ship drifting away, and deep within its wreckage, a single escape pod shot into space, moving fast. Ryan knew who it was. The hybrid had survived, and she wouldn't stop. He closed his eyes and said softly, Lyra, I'm still following your path, but this time, I'll finish it. As the Valor drifted through the wreckage, the crew began repairs, but in the shadows of space, the hunt had only paused, not ended, and somewhere far away the hybrid opened her eyes, whispering the same name. Ryan, she said, you can't hide from what you carry. The war between love and creation had only just begun. Silence filled the void around the ESS Valor. The wreckage of the Dominion cruiser floated nearby, glowing faintly under the light of distant stars. The crew worked quietly, repairing the damaged systems, patching leaks, sealing hull cracks. But deep inside the ship, Ryan lay motionless in the medical bay, connected to glowing cables that pulsed with blue light. He had been unconscious for hours after sending the resonance pulse. His body had survived, but his mind was still trapped between worlds, between the human and the code. Captain Aaron stood beside the glass pod, watching the monitors. He's stable, the medic said softly, but the energy inside him is changing. It's like something is rewriting him. Aaron frowned. Then we better hope it's on our side. Inside Ryan's mind, he floated in a sea of light. Voices whispered all around him. Human voices, thousands of them. He realized these were the minds the Dominion had erased. Their memories lived inside the resonance key, hidden within his scars, and they were calling to him, asking him to finish what Lyra started. Suddenly a familiar voice echoed among them, soft and gentle. Ryan, she said, can you hear me? He turned, and there she was, Lyra, her image glowing, her eyes full of warmth. Lyra, he whispered, his heart aching. I thought you were gone. She smiled faintly. Not gone, only hidden. The code keeps my mind alive, but my body. She looked down, the light around her flickering. It's fading. Ryan reached out, his hand passing through hers like smoke. You did all this, he said quietly. You gave up everything to protect me. Lyra nodded slowly. You were the only one who could carry the key. You were the only one strong enough. He shook his head. I wasn't strong, I was angry. I was lost, her eyes softened. And yet you still fought. That's what makes you human. Before he could reply, the light around them darkened. The air crackled with static, and a cold voice broke through. You don't belong here, Commander, it said. From the shadow stepped the hybrid, the one who carried Lyra's face but none of her soul. Her eyes glowed red, her presence sharp and cruel. Lyra moved in front of Ryan, her voice firm. You can't have him, the hybrid smirked. You can't protect him anymore. You're just a fragment. The two figures faced each other. One made of love and memory, the other of hate and control. Rian stood between them, torn. The hybrid stretched out her hand and the light began to twist. Give me the key, she commanded, or they'll all die. Every voice inside you. Every memory. Ryan looked at Lyra, his chest tight. What happens if I use the key again? He asked. Lyra hesitated. It will destroy the Dominion network. But it will also erase everything inside it, including me. Her words hit him like a blade. Outside the dream, alarms blared through the Valor. The Dominion reinforcements had arrived. Their ship surrounding the Wraith Belt. Aaron's voice echoed through the ship. All crew to battle positions were surrounded. The hybrid's voice transmitted through the comms again, cold and calm. Surrender, Rian Dale, or we will burn this ship to ashes. Back inside his mind, the battle between light and shadow raged. Lyra turned to him, her eyes pleading. You have to decide, Ryan. Destroy the network and end it all, or save me. And risk everything. He could barely speak, his throat tight with emotion. If I destroy the network, I lose you. She nodded slowly. But you save everyone else. He clenched his fists, trembling. I can't lose you again. Lyra smiled softly, tears glowing in her eyes. Then remember me, even if I'm gone. Remember what we fought for. The hybrid laughed, her voice sharp like glass. Pathetic. Humans always choose emotion over logic. She raised her hand, a surge of dark energy striking Lyra's form. Shattering it into shards of light, Ryan screamed, grabbing the fragments as they dissolved around him. But one last whisper reached him. Lyra's voice saying, do what I couldn't. And this, Ryan opened his eyes in the real world, gasping for air. The medic stumbled back as his body glowed with blinding blue light. The energy from the key was awake again, stronger than before. Aaron's voice came through the speaker. Ryan, the Dominion fleet is charging weapons. What do we do? Ryan stood slowly, his eyes glowing faintly, his voice calm. We end the war. He made his way to the core chamber, every step echoing with the hum of the resonance key inside him. The walls flickered as he passed, lights bending toward him like they recognized their master. Aaron followed, shouting, If you do this, you might not survive. Ryan turned, a faint smile on his face. She didn't either. He placed his hands on the ship's main conduit. The same way he had done before, energy surged through him, flooding the entire vessel across the battlefield. Every Dominion ship froze, their weapons going silent. Ryan could hear the echo of Lyra's voice one last time. Thank you, Ryan, she whispered, for choosing them. The pulse exploded outward. Brighter than a star, every Dominion system went dark. Their ships collapsing like falling giants. The Valor rocked violently but stayed intact, and in the center of it all stood Ryan, surrounded by blue flames, his body glowing like living energy. He whispered to the empty air, Goodbye, Lyra. And as the light faded, his body slowly fell to the floor, silent, peaceful. Outside, the Dominion fleet burned, and the Wraith Belt became the place where the war finally ended. But for those who knew him, Ryan Dale became more than a soldier. He became a legend, the man who chose humanity over himself, the man who made the choice. The war was over, the stars were quiet again, glowing softly over the ruins of the Dominion fleet. Wrecked ships drifted across the endless night, silent monuments to a war that had finally ended. The ESS Valor floated among the debris, its hull scarred but still shining. Inside, the crew moved like ghosts, whispering to each other, their faces filled with disbelief and awe. Ryan Dale had done the impossible. The pulse from the resonance key had shattered the Dominion network across the galaxy, freeing billions of minds that had been trapped for generations. Every enslaved human, every hybrid, every silent prisoner woke up to their own thoughts again. The universe had changed, and humanity was no longer under the Dominion's shadow. But the man who had made it possible lay motionless in the Valor's core chamber. Captain Aaron stood beside him, his hands shaking slightly. The room still smelled of ozone and light, faint traces of the energy Ryan had released still dancing in the air. The medic looked up and said quietly, "His vitals are gone, Captain." Aaron nodded slowly, his voice breaking. "He gave everything." The crew bowed their heads, a moment of silence spreading through the ship. But as the silence deepened, a strange hum filled the air. The lights flickered, then pulsed in rhythm, slow, steady, alive. Aaron's eyes widened. "Wait, what's that sound?" The medic leaned closer to the monitors. "It's coming from him." Ryan's body began to glow faintly, the scars on his skin lighting up once more. The blue light spread through the chamber, forming soft waves like a heartbeat, and then a hologram appeared above him, a figure made of pure energy. Familiar and radiant, it was Lyra, her form flickering but beautiful, her eyes filled with gentle sorrow and pride. Aaron stepped back, whispering, "By the stars." "It's her." Lyra looked down at Ryan's still body, her voice calm and filled with emotion. "He kept his promise," she said softly. "He chose humanity over everything." The light around her shimmered as she turned toward Aaron. "He's not gone, Captain. He's only changed." Aaron frowned. "Changed? What do you mean?" Lyra smiled faintly. "The key didn't destroy him. It transformed him. His mind is part of the resonance now. He exists in the light that protects you." The ship's lights brightened as if responding to her words. Screens flickered on, showing signals across the galaxy. Cities rebuilding, humans waking, colonies lighting up again. Lyra's voice echoed softly through the comms. "He gave you freedom, but it's up to you to keep it." Her form began to fade, her light merging with Ryan's glowing body, and before she vanished completely, she whispered, "You saved me too." Ryan, then silence returned, the glow faded, and Ryan's body finally stilled, peaceful. Aaron closed his eyes and said quietly, "Rest easy, Commander. Your fight is done." He looked out through the viewport at the stars and saluted. For a moment, the stars themselves seemed to shimmer in response, like they were saluting back days later. The Valor landed on a small green world, one of the few untouched by the war. It was there that they buried what remained of Ryan Dale. Under the twin suns that reminded everyone of Alaris Prime, the crew gathered, each one placing something personal beside his grave. A medal, a glove, a fragment of ship metal. Aaron spoke quietly, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. He was not just a soldier. He was a reminder of what it means to be human. The wind carried his words through the valley, and as the suns began to set, something strange happened. A soft blue light rose from the grave. Floating upward like dust in sunlight, it drifted into the air, breaking into smaller lights that spread across the sky. Everywhere it touched, the plants glowed brighter, the air warmer, the world alive again. Aaron smiled faintly, whispering, "Even in death, he still gives life." The crew watched in silence as the sky turned a deep shade of gold. It was as if the universe itself was bowing in gratitude. Months passed, and the story of Ryan Dale spread across every colony. Humans rebuilt their worlds, their cities, their hope, and on each world, they placed a single symbol, a glowing blue circle with two lines crossing through it, the mark of the resonance, the sign of the man who had saved them. But in the dark corners of space, rumors began to spread. Some said they saw a ship of light traveling between the stars inside it, a figure with glowing eyes and a calm voice helping lost travelers. Others claimed to hear a familiar signal, a heartbeat pulsing in the void, guiding them home and somewhere beyond the known worlds. In the quiet expanse of the galaxy, a whisper echoed through the stars. It was Lyra's voice, soft and eternal. "Ryan, you kept your promise, and because of you, humanity remembers." Her words lingered in the starlight, fading into warmth and peace. And though Ryan Dale's body rested beneath alien suns, his spirit had become something far greater, a protector, a legend, and a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the universe, the light of humanity will always rise again. The war had ended, but his story had only just begun. The story of the redemption,